Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 6 of Creekside Chat, the only podcast taped in a Stallion barn. I still think we are the only one. I'm Adam Bowden, that's Sean Longani, and I think we're going to get into some juicy stuff today, maybe some controversial stuff, but I think we'll start with the Dan Patch that just wrapped up a couple weeks ago. You and Caroline were there hosting what will be our annual party, I think, cocktail party before the event. So tell us about the Dan Patch.
Ushwa did a great job again. I think I figured it out. Ushwa is the partiers, the most partying group in the sport. So it makes sense that they throw the year-end party and awards because they all know how to socialize, they all know how to talk and hang out. And so we had at least a couple hundred people for the eve of the awards at the concert and cocktail reception.
So that's turned out to be quite an event for us.
Yeah,
and for the
really
sport.
Appreciated it too, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to network with prominent owners and breeders, and so it was great. Had a great time, and I was going to present to you my best dressed and best speech for you. Brought it all the way back from Orlando, and by a landslide, best dressed.
Okay, is
Mickey Burke showed up dressed like he was about to become the king of England. I mean, he had been tailored. He usually looks pretty good, like he dresses pretty well. I've been around him at these events, but went to a whole different level. Gold vest, gold tie, black tux.
So totally unrecognizable compared to what you see him at the racetrack.
I mean, Mickey's never looked better. Nice. Props to Mickey and his family. I know Ronnie was sick and Mark was down under, but the whole Burke family looked great. Sylvia was beautiful. That was awesome.
Well deserved too. They won a bunch of awards, so good for them.
Yeah, it was cool to see them succeed.
Now, best speech.
Love it. Best speech. I got a winner by landslide again, and then I got a couple honorable mentions.
Okay.
I don't think anybody in the house would disagree. Sonia Booth, caretaker of the year, groom for Sig Sauer and Captain Albano, was the best speech. And what's funny is the night before, she's telling us how she hasn't written it and she's not very good at these things, and she was just going to kind of go up there, be genuine, and just say what was on her mind. Well, I guess she must have had some sort of creative juices by the pool because she wrote this poem about like trusting your horse to go out and compete. It was like heartfelt, and English is her second language.
Yeah,
I believe she's from Finland, but it was pure.
My gratitude goes to the horses that I've been lucky to take care of. They are the heroes. I would like to share something that I wrote for them to my horses. Thank you, my friend, for all you've done, for every victory, every race we won. Your strength, your spirit led the way through every challenge, night and day. From state to state, many races we won. Your hooves like thunder, our work never done. With each stride, you carried me high, reaching for dreams beneath the sky. For all the tramps, big and small, thank you, my horse, for answering the call. In your heart, I found my grace, a bond that time cannot erase. Thank you.
She might be the most popular caretaker in the sport since I've been following the sport. Like, she has fans, like all those owners, they love her, and she gets the best horses in Knowles Barn and has done great the last few years.
Congrats to Sonia.
Yeah, we really like Sonia. And then honorable mention, Ella Johansson gave a nice speech for Champagne Thirsty.
Problems.
That's, Champagne. We had a mare named Champagne Thirsty. Sorry.
She was awful, but this filly's good.
Big difference. 2-year-old trotting filly, and that's Nancy Tactor and Marcus Johansson's daughter, and she owns a piece of the filly there. Gave a good speech. And then Tom Grossman gave his speech for both Trotting Sire of the Year and Co-Pacing Sire of the Year with Better's Delight, and he did not hold anything back, and he made sure everybody knew that a good stallion career starts with a big set of balls.
Nice. So,
and
we agree with that.
Tom. Yeah, the two do correlate. So, no, Dan Patch was good. We want to thank Ushwa for putting on a good show, and congrats to all the winners. And boy, it's hard to be in that room and not want to try to win those awards.
Yeah.
You know,
We were there a year ago. It's pretty exciting. So I think everybody's goal is to get back there. We'll be there first.
You know, we've been going through our foaling season here, but we've been talking on this podcast a lot about new foals from the new stallions that we have.
How fun is it to
Dude,
get
it's
the
like
pictures
Christmas
roll in
every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever had so much fun in this business as we're having right now.
It's fun. They're homebreds. I mean, even TA too, like the foal pictures are great. And we encourage everybody to keep submitting them to us.
Absolutely.
And we'll post them.
Like just a little bit of feedback. Like I'd say the cannibals are a little bit flashier and leggier than we expected, maybe. He's not a super tall horse. You know, he's just under 16 hands, but they have a bit more leg than we expected and a whole lot more white than we could have expected. You know, the Lou coming through. And then, I mean, the Confederates.
Try not to get too excited.
Like, we're super biased. I don't even know that I would listen to us, but they are exactly what we hoped for.
Yeah. And I think the feedback from the breeders is the same thing. It's like, all right, we paid a lot of money for either a share or a breeding, and we get what we paid for.
Yeah, they look like they're ready to race out of the womb, and they've got leg, and they've got athleticism, and a lot of them are dark, and there's maybe more white coming through in those than we expected. So we're just on cloud nine. Yeah. And then tactical approach, I know some of the folks that have reached out are just super happy. And I think people need not sleep on that horse, right? Because there are still bookings available, and it looks like you'd be following a very strong crop. So
good bred crop. Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but our last episode went way more viral than anything else. So
very thrilled.
Appreciate everybody for watching, and try to watch all the way through the episode, not to mention miss anything. But believe it or not, 28,000 some people clicked on our crazy butts. So
it's about 7 times more than we had previously. So we'll try to keep that streak going by giving you guys some good stuff to watch.
Good stuff. Well, Adam, why don't we get into behind the barn door segment, and we'll get this episode rolling.
Let's do it.
This breeding season, take the tactical approach.
Tactical approach! How did he do it?
2023 Trotter of the Year. Earnings of more than $1.5 million. The last colt since Muscle Hill to win the Hambletonian, Kentucky Futurity, and Breeders' Crown. Tactical approach.
Sell under a new banner in 2025 with Alliance Bloodstock, powered by Partnership. Now accepting 2025 yearling sale entries. Call today or visit us online at alliancebloodstock.com.
All righty, Adam, let's pull back this barn door, reveal what goes on. And this week we're going to talk about stallion syndicates, and it's inspired by a question we got again from Lynn Prentice. Appreciate your questions, Lynn. We're going to send you a hat to thank you for watching and giving us good feedback. And basically she's asking a lot of questions about how stallion syndicates are formed, how they operate, and what
our role is in it.
Essentially, Okay. So however we want to start to tackle that, it's a big subject.
I probably would go into more detail than you would, and you're newer to it. Why don't you start it, and then I'll just kind of jump in and fill it in.
Because we don't know everybody's knowledge base that's watching, why don't we just start by describing what is a syndicate when we use that word? Syndicate can be, I guess, referred to as any group of people that are getting together to do some sort of business together, right? I mean, you could get a group of guys together to form a syndicate to bet a pick 5 at Gulfstream or Meadowlands. But in this case, that word is just used for when a group surrounds a horse, in this case a stallion, to basically share in the ownership and to essentially be in business together. And they're not referred to as partners, they're referred to as members in a syndicate. And each member is referred to as a shareholder. Why do we refer to them as a shareholder?
So they own a small piece of the horse or whatever the breakdown of that is. Usually we start with 120 shares, and I think that's predicated on the USTA rule of 140. So 120 shares, and then the extra breedings to pay everybody along the way, right? So the syndicate manager gets some compensation for all the work that they do, usually a trainer or a driver or a the breeder or agent or somebody gets some extra breedings as well. But really it's 20 plus the 120 for the shareholders. And then each one is allocated one breeding per year for the lifetime of the horse.
So that's how we come up with the 120, and then if there's additional breedings to be split amongst those stakeholders. So,
but it really goes back to when we meet with the original owners, right? And they sort of tell us how many they'd like to sell, how many they'd like to keep, and then everything gets kind of broken down from there. Usually we buy into the horse as well, and we're allocated some shares, and then we go about doing the selling, right, to the public or to the breeders, and that's when you take over.
I don't know about that, but let's describe to people what governs kind of this operation, and then who manages it.
So Diamond Creek, you're saying, would basically be the syndicate manager. We would, with the original owners, a lot of times decide where they're going to stand, what the stud fee is going to be, and then the structure of the syndicate, right? And usually the original owners have quite a bit of say in it, and each one of them is different, right? Whether the horse is going to shuttle to the Southern Hemisphere, remain here, free season for Europe, and there's so many different options for each one of the horses, and we meet with the original owners and make that call.
So when this syndicate gets formed, I think it's important for people to know that that's typically done at the beginning of a stallion's career. Let's say they're transitioning from being in training to being a stallion. But there's nothing to say that a syndicate, and we've even done this, a syndication can take place later in a stallion's career.
Yeah, like Jim Pansy's a perfect example of that. His semen quality maybe wasn't what we hoped it would be to offer a full syndication, and so we met with the original owners and decided to just sell breedings to the horse. And then as his semen got better and his horses started racing and there was some interest and they started selling, there was the ability to do it, right? We had changed some stuff in-house with the horse and his quality had gotten significantly better and we were able to do it. And his is different. He's 100 shares. Yeah, so he's kind of limited by...
Yeah, describe how that works and what's the lowest number of shares you've seen in standardbreds in the modern era?
Maybe 60.
Really?
Right? But that's... 2 breedings per share. And again, each syndication is completely different and the syndicate manager usually is part of that decision-making process.
So is it fair to say that there are traditions on how things are traditionally done, but there's no hard and fast rules? In other words,
no hard and
syndicate
fast
can be
rules.
Designed
however you want it to be,
the group decides.
Like we did differently with our homebred horses, Confederate and Cannibal, than maybe we did. And both of them are different than some of the other ones that we've purchased. So again, there really are no rules or no boundaries to stay within. It's like kind of whatever your imagination can come up with.
Yeah. So Lynn also had some questions about how much influence does the syndicate manager or the stallion farm have in influencing who gets bred to the horse?
Oh, you can probably answer that a little bit better. You're on that side.
Yeah, and I think the key thing for you to know, Lynn, would just be that when it comes to shares and shareholders, the stallion farm would have no influence. In other words, that's their property essentially, right? They're not renting it; they own that space within a condominium building.
So if I owned a share in, say, Confederate, I could pick any mare to breed to, or pacer or trotter, really.
So if you own a share in Confederate, you own 1/120th of that horse. Less than 1%, but you are entitled to that one breeding per share for the lifetime of that horse. So you could breed it to
whatever I want.
Yeah.
But the remaining breedings, the pooled breedings or the farm-owned breedings,
we'd have a lot of influence there.
Yeah.
And it'd be our responsibility to try to take care of the shareholders first, because that just makes sense. I mean, they're essentially your partners, and they're invested in the
but then we're trying to get the best
horse.
Possible mares.
But give that stallion his very best chance.
Yeah.
So the mares that we believe, and that's very subject to, it's very subjective, but what we believe gives that stallion the best opportunity and best chance to succeed. So that's a really quick 6-minute description of stallion syndicates, Lynn. But
we could go on and on for hours, but we won't bore you with all the details of that.
Yeah, let's just wrap it up and talk about the foreign interactions.
So most of our pacers, we've kind of shuttled to the Southern Hemisphere. I'd gone down there maybe 10 years or so ago and developed some relationships, and it's worked out beautifully for the original owners. And now our syndicates have changed a little bit, and we've included the people that have purchased shares along the way. But so they shuttle to the Southern Hemisphere. Usually there's a deal worked out where we split the income with the Southern Hemisphere farm, And the income comes back to us once a year, and then we distribute it to those that own either original owners or the shareholders, and it's a nice little bonus.
Yeah, good stuff. Good quick overview. And I think that wraps us up for the Behind the Barn Doors segment on this episode. And we'll open up the bridle here and move on to the next segment.
And it's all Pebble Beach. And Pebble Beach has destroyed this field. The Pepsi North America Cup, Pebble Beach in Iran.
Sell under a new banner in 2025 with Alliance Bloodstock, powered by Partnership. Now accepting 2025 yearling sale entries. Call today or visit us online at alliancebloodstock.com.
All right, welcome back, guys. So we got our open bridle segment where we talk about anything and everything that's on our mind. So what's on your mind today, Adam?
Controversial stuff, maybe?
It's open.
Yeah,
No
let's do
holds
it.
barred.
Maybe start with New York Times article.
Yeah.
Fluff piece.
That's been a
trash
big topic
piece.
lately, yeah. That was a throw under the bus piece, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's a joke, really. And I don't understand why the USTA needs to even spend any amount of time talking about it and trying to critique the piece and, point out
Right.
all of the inaccuracies of it. It's real stupid.
Yeah, that piece was fairly shallow. Like anybody that's really ever even been to a racetrack, probably if they read that, they're like, I don't know that this captures
Who is that
the
guy
real
anyway?
issue. Former Rolling Stones
He's
editor.
an idiot.
But what about the piece is worth discussing?
Is there?
Well, I do think that the social license or the society license for what the sport that we love is important. The Greyhounds lost their license to operate because of public opinion.
Yeah.
So, that's essentially what he's doing is he's attacking the society's license for for us to
But
operate.
I think we learn just in general life, the public's stupid.
At
Like
times,
just
mob
flat out
mentality
stupid.
gets out.
Yeah. And
chaotic.
so it's easy to pile on, and
Yeah.
that's what he's doing. So.
I think when you talk about empty grandstands and things like that, that's certainly a concern for all of us.
But that's our own fault. That's the sport's fault for not changing over the last 50 years, and everybody continues to think they're going to put people in the grandstand. It ain't happening.
That's where I was going is there are some things to kind of get into from that article that are definitely a concern. I do think that the tracks, and you see it with like Oak Grove, a recently built track in Kentucky here by Churchill Downs and Cumberland Run as well. They're not building big grandstands. In fact, neither have a grandstand.
Yeah.
Which makes total
it's
sense.
embarrassing to go to one of those races and watch it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So that's our New York Times deal. We're not worried about it. It was just a
Trash.
hatchet job. Yeah. It's just pop media or whatever they call it. So what else is on your mind? What's been bothering you lately or about our industry? Anything?
I think from where we sit, right, like we touch a lot of stallions. We see a lot of breedings come in. Like a massive concern for both you and I, and we discuss it regularly, is the amount of breeding sold online.
Yeah. That's changed so much the last few years. Like it's like some sort of super highway of breedings transferring.
Well, we started doing that a couple of years ago, putting some breedings on that we couldn't move maybe in-house, and all of a sudden it feels like snowball rolling downhill. It's just gotten out of control.
Yeah. The big cons that I see are we have these short online auctions that take place, and sometimes breedings oversell or undersell, but then that becomes the market value, the appraisal value of that
And
breeding. or
everybody
stallion.
wants that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a massive spread, right? It's either overpriced or massively underpriced.
Yeah.
And I think it hurts those young stallions that really don't have a foothold yet.
Yeah, like in some ways it's great that there's this marketplace and breedings are transferable and you can easily move them. But it used to be more so that shareholders or breeders that had these breedings, they call their buddies, they call their friends, they make some sort of gentleman deal, and everybody goes on. Now it's all being done out in the public, essentially. And so
And it sets the market, right? And so if we've come along and said horse A is worth X, right? Then the market is they're being sold secondhand, for
secondary
Y. All of
market.
a sudden, now you've got to try to meet somewhere in the middle, and it makes your job very tough.
we're trying to evolve, but we're not at the forefront of selling these breedings anymore because the online sites are. So people aren't calling the farms as regularly. I mean, these breedings are. Many that are transferring on non-full stallions are available from these stallion farms, sometimes at discounts for multiple mares or loyalty, value customer stuff. So it's just interesting that everybody just seems to prefer to do it this way. And what I see a lot of people making bad deals, either as a buyer or a seller.
Both.
We see a lot of upfront no guarantee breedings more than ever being sold. And we know there's inherent issues with that.
Anytime that we've done that, it seems like it's bit us in the butt, right? Either when we've gone to done it or we've sold them in-house, like when a stallion's been popular. And so we've tried to get away from that as much as possible.
Yeah, it has just inherent problems.
Yeah.
I mean, we know based on history that there's a certain percentage of mares that aren't going to produce a live foal. And so there's that gamble going on. People seem to be doing it as if it's 100% guaranteed and taking that risk. I mean, I see people sometimes, like on a $15,000 stallion, willing to buy it at $13,000 non-guaranteed basis to save $2,000 off the live foal stud fee.
On a horse that probably gets 65% live foals. Like
Don't know if
that's
that makes
not a good
sense.
deal.
No, if you're insuring your pregnancies, by all means, go fire away. But that's stuff that we continue to talk about. But it creates a lot of challenges to our industry. And I would make people mindful that, you can still call stallion farms and see what's available. It's not as if their doors are shut. And what I see is most shareholders thinking that they have to sell them this way because it's kind of just the way people are doing business. But you still have opportunities to work with your stallion farm, potentially pool your breeding in the
You're
winter
guaranteed
before the
to get,
season.
I mean, I guess both ways you're going to guarantee to get money. And some people probably want it now versus later. But again, it probably, like internally, we're going to have to discuss how we approach syndications and stud fees and everything else moving forward. Possibly horses go to private fees.
Yeah, it's challenging right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely a topic that was also behind the barn door and open bridle, because we were very open and honest with you about that, and you got to see a peek into what we're dealing with on a daily basis. So with that, we need to close up this episode of Creekside Chat and move down the stretch.
All right, folks, let's wrap up this episode of Creekside Chat and let's head down the stretch, Adam.
All right, give it to me. Favorite horse, favorite thoroughbred, and favorite standardbred.
Oh gosh, there's so many, but it's easy for me on the standardbred side because it's unquestionably down by the seaside. He got me in the game. Only reason I'm sitting here. So thoroughbred wise, though, pretty easy too. It's Rachel Alexandra. I mean,
She
that
was
filly
pretty
was
awesome.
otherworldly. Like changed what I thought was possible for a filly to do. Like the day she won the Woodward, insane. Her Preakness performance, insane. I wish they'd run her in the Derby because she probably would have definitely beat that
She would have
crowd.
won that day,
So
no
that's
question.
easy,
For me, pure country, just because she was kind of the first great horse that I had. And then thoroughbred, spectacular bid all the way back to the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, for me,
Nobody's.
right? Bud Delp said he was the
You've been
best horse
saying
to
that
look
for
through
years.
a bridle, so I'm going to go with that one.
I saw a great picture of him, and him and Secretariat were across the aisle there, or I should say, what do we call the
Barn row?
No, what do we call the area between two paddocks? I forget. We call it something, throwaway or whatever. Anyway, they're in paddocks across from each other. It's
cool.
a picture of them looking at each other. It's pretty neat. All right, let me fire this one at you. What was your first car?
It was a red, and I'm talking like pinkish red, Buick Regal 1989.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of embarrassing, but that was awesome. It was my grandmother's car.
What color was the interior?
It was rose.
Oh, nothing like picking up the
It's pretty
ladies in
embarrassing.
that baby.
We'll go. What about you?
I had a hand-me-down from my granddad, low mileage, 1991 Ford F-150.
Oh, that's nice.
Single cab, no extended cab, long bed, crimson,
Oh, nice.
red
So look at
with
this, red and red.
gray trim, cloth
kinda
bench
ugly.
seat.
Mine were cloth too, so that's good.
We had so much fun with that truck because it had the long bed, and so friends would go surfing. We called it. So they would stand in the back as long
Yeah,
as they
super
could stay
safe stuff
upright. Yeah,
as teenagers,
zooming
yeah.
around doing donuts. So we had a lot of fun in that.
All right,
that
last
truck.
question.
Yeah, hit me.
Favorite TV show, or what TV show are you watching right now?
Yeah, I'm watching Paradise on Hulu. It's really
Together.
cool.
We both are.
Yeah, we both into that show. It's mystery, thriller, action with a twist of sci-fi.
We won't tell
Would
people
recommend.
that we actually watched an episode or two while we were driving back from
we
Pennsylvania,
don't
New
do
Jersey
that.
last
No,
week.
that
Last
didn't
year.
happen.
No, we'll leave it at that. No, the series is fantastic.
I agree.
We've just finished episode 8. I think it's the end of the season,
Which
but it's renewed
I
for
don't
season
like.
2.
Yeah,
so.
check out Paradise on Hulu for
very
sure.
good.
Good stuff. Well, let's wrap up this episode of Creekside Chat. We appreciate you all being with us, and we will see you next time.